besties! Welcome back to the Weekly Download, where we unpack what's trending, what's costing us money, and what's quietly reshaping the world around us. From fitness goals we swear we're sticking to global power plays dressed up as health, and electricity bills that refuse to mind their business. Let the download commence.
This show is sponsored by Ignite Media.
Be honest, how many of you started the year saying, "This is the year I get fit"? Gym membership? Bought. Motivation? High. Consistency? We'll see. And you're not alone. Millions of people make New Year's resolutions every year, and most of them center around health and wellness. In fact, a large-scale study on New Year's resolutions found that about 66% of people commit to improving their physical health. That's eating better, moving more, and losing weight. Another 14% focuses on self-improvement, like mental health, better sleep, and personal growth. So the intentions, great. The follow-through, not so much. According to new research, 94% of us dropped the ball within just 2 months. That means only 6% actually stick to their goals. Painful, right? That research comes from Dr. Michelle Rosen, author of this book. After years of advising Fortune 500 companies, she noticed something interesting. The people who succeed aren't just more motivated, they're wired differently in how they commit, plan, and recover when they slip up. So the real question this week is, are you aiming to be a part of the 94%? Or are you ready to join the 6% club? Unless you have been living under a rock, you likely heard of the biggest white savior move yet. Trump swooped into Venezuela and released them from the clutches of Maduro. The world and Venezuela remain divided, yet also somewhat uncertain and still. Nothing like January to breed uncertainty and an air of big changes. Or is it the same old song dressed in sequins and lipstick? We'll get back to that in a few. Well, hopefully you enjoyed your Christmas lights this holiday season because they may begin costing you 8.4% more in 2026. Yes, your electricity bill is about to level up and not in a good way. So TikTok junkies, LED light enthusiasts, and anyone whose house looks like a mini studio setup, you might want to start thinking solar. Last month, the government, alongside Belize Electricity Limited, informed the public of the upcoming rate increase. While it was proposed ahead of time, that doesn't make it any easier to swallow. For many households, this increase is going to hit hard, especially considering we've already been dealing with a steady rise in the cost of living post-COVID. Groceries up, fuel up, rent up, and now electricity too. So the real question isn't if you'll feel it, it's how you're going to adjust. Because at this rate, energy efficiency might stop being a nice idea and start becoming a necessity. When powerful nations pick and choose when international law applies, the whole system stops looking like rules and starts looking like suggestions. The recent U.S. operation in Venezuela, where American forces captured President Nicolas Maduro without United Nations authorization, has drawn sharp criticism from legal scholars and even the UN itself. Why? Because international law is clear, like really clear. The UN Charter says you can't use force against another country's sovereignty unless the Security Council gives the green light, or you're acting in self-defense after an armed attack. Neither of those boxes was checked. Even the International Court of Justice agrees. In the 1986 case of Nicaragua versus United States, the The ICJ said that using force against another state without UN approval or self-defense is a straight-up violation of international law. Basically, no shortcuts. Still, the US says, don't worry, we have a plan, a 3-phase plan: stabilize, recover, transition. Sounds nice, right? But bestie, nothing in a life free. So the real question is, why does this benefit the United States? Let's call it what it is. Venezuela has some of the largest and best quality oil reserves in the world. And it's not just oil, it's market-moving oil. At this, Venezuela has long been tight with Russia and China, the US's biggest frenemies. So, when the US steps in, they're not just saving Venezuela. They're securing influence over oil, removing a leader who blocked their interests, and sending a message to Russia and China like, not in our backyard. As we say here, they know a weak fence there, especially when the weak fence guards a big, beautiful pot of oil. That's 2, maybe 3 birds with 1 stone. Think back to July 2nd, 1954, Guatemala. The US-backed coup overthrew democratically elected President Jacobo Arbenz. The US claimed it was about communism. The real motive? Protecting American investments in fruit plantations and land. Once Arbenz was removed, voting rights were restricted. Agrarian reform was reversed, and thousands were imprisoned. So it was never about saving people. You can read more in Asad Shulman's Guatemala's Claim to Belize, chapter From Guatemala to Guataprior. If international law can be bent for Venezuela today, it can be bent for anyone tomorrow. When rules depend on who has the biggest military, sovereignty becomes conditional. For countries like Belize, this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because when powerful nations decide who gets protection under the law and who gets managed, besties, I do not condone any violation of human rights whatsoever. And we create mechanisms like the UN and the ICJ so that people can't just do whatever they want because it makes them more money. No single country should be allowed to decide when sovereignty matters and when it doesn't. But that's my opinion, besties. What do you think? We need to ask, who decides when sovereignty matters and who decides when it doesn't? So, whether it's our personal goals or household expenses or the rules that govern the global stage, one thing is clear. Who holds power decides what sticks and who has to adjust. But that's our take, besties. What do you think? Drop your thoughts, argue respectfully, and as always, stay informed, stay curious, and we'll catch you next time. Download complete.
The views and opinions expressed in the weekly download are solely those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Ignite Limited.